What's going on, guys? We are back here today with another review. Today, we are going to be focusing on the recently released Netflix movie, A Family Affair, starring Zac Efron and Joey King and Nicole Kidman. Going into this movie, this is not typically a movie that I would watch. However, being away and using Netflix more, I started looking through. It was trending, and I said, let's go ahead and give this movie a shot. So, the basis of the movie is Zara, played by Joey King, is an assistant to Chris Cole, which is Zac Efron's character. In the early stages of the movie, you see that their relationship is very tense. You see Zac Efron making these ultimatums about whether or not she's going to stay on her job, saying, oh, if you don't do this, you'll be fired. Ultimately, it leads her to quit. Now, the one thing I will say is, as the movie continues and she finally tells her mom, which is played by Nicole Kidman, that she quit her job, you start to see where her personality is. The one thing that was interesting in this movie is ultimately when Chris Cole comes around and you see Brooke, Nicole Kidman's character, and him begin to hit it off and kind of where things go. The one thing I will say about this movie is, for me, it was decent. It was a movie where you had the kind of ups and downs, but there were a lot of scenes in it that would fit in a typical environment. Now, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, when you look at the beginning and you see the relationship between an employer and a boss and an employee, you will see that this kind of is what it would flow like in a normal work setting. Now, the one thing that was interesting about this is when you look at Zac Efron playing in Iron Claw and then see his transition back to a romance comedy, you see how diverse of an actor he is. And that's the one thing I will say with Zac Efron is he really broke out of that Disney Channel star shell. And that's what's good. If Zac Efron is in a movie, usually I will tune in to watch it just based on that. Now, looking at A Family Affair, the one thing I will say is you do see the tense moments in the film, but for me, those tense moments do not make up for comedic aspects. So for me, when I'm looking at it and looking at it being a romantic comedy, I'm looking at where are the funny parts going to come in. So are we going to see more of that romance? Are we going to see more of the comedy? And so here you see, I believe, less of the comedy and more focus on like a romance / seriousness in the film. And so for me, when I'm looking at this movie, what I'm really looking at is where do I place it on my rating scale? And for me, this movie is about a 2.8 out of 5. It's a movie that I wanted to watch and see what it was about, but it's not a movie that I'm necessarily going to rush and see again. And to be honest, I probably will not watch it again. So for me, that 2.8, 2.9 out of 5 range is where it falls. Looking at some of the ratings before I began the movie, a lot of the ratings were around a 5.1 out of 10 on the scale. And I believe Rotten Tomatoes had it at like a 38% rating. That's the one consistent thing I will say about Netflix movies. They do not typically have high rating scores. And so obviously there are a few that do. However, when you're looking at a Netflix movie, you really don't expect it to be great. So 2.8 out of 5 for A Family Affair. It's a movie that if you're browsing through Netflix, give it a try. But if you're looking for something that you think is going to keep you on the edge of your toes. You're going to be laughing a lot. This is not the movie for you. So stay tuned. I have more reviews coming, and I will talk to you guys later.